Okay, so solving equations by adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing with decimals. So before we didn't do decimals, we just used integers, but we're doing the same thing to solve with decimals. So if you want to get rid of the 4.5 on the first one, you subtract 4.5 from each side. So you have 9.7 minus 4.5 is 5.2 is your answer. Now let's look at another subtracting one. To get y by itself, you need to subtract 3.4 from both sides. So negative 8.8 minus 3.4 is negative 12.2. And there's your answer. In the last subtracting one, you want to look at the side of A. You're going to subtract 6.5 from each side. So A equals 3.98 minus 6.5, and you get negative 2.52. So you're going to do the same thing that you do as we did last chapter, except for the answers are all going to be in decimals, or there's decimals in there. So adding to solve, you're going to add 5.85 to each side. So G equals 2.6 plus 5.85. And you get 8.45. And then to solve for K, you add 14.4 to each side. So you do 18.8 negative plus 14.4, and you get negative 4.4. And then the last one, you add 2.4 to each side. So 14.73 plus 2.4 is 17.13. And then you can also multiply both sides. So we're dividing by 2.5, so we're going to multiply both sides by 2.5. So 7.5 times 2.5 is 18.75. And then I'm going to multiply 12.5 times negative 7.2. And you get a negative 90, because a negative times a positive is a negative. And then I multiply both sides by negative 4.5. So negative 80 times 4.5 is positive 360. In the last part, remember to divide. These numbers are close together, so you're going to divide. They're multiplied, so you need to divide to solve. So 1.6 divided by 0.8 is 2. 0.9 divided by 5.4 is 5.4 divided by 0.9. It's going to be a negative. 5.4 divided by 0.9 is negative 6. And divide both sides by negative 0.9. 81.81 divided by 0.9 is 90.9. So it's a positive 90.9. Down here are word problems with decimals. So a store's cost plus markup is the price you pay for an item. Suppose a pair of shoes cost the store $35.48 and you pay $70 for them. Write and solve an equation to find the store's markup. So the store's markup is going to be our variable. We're going to let that be M. So I'm going to go back to the first sentence of the equation where it says a store's cost plus markup is. So a store's cost, we're going to let that be whatever it costs the store. So that's $35.48. And then it says plus, so that's a plus sign. The markup, which is going to be our variable M, means equal the price you pay for an item. And we paid $70 for it. So now I have to solve for M. So to solve for M, you subtract $35.48 from each side. So M equals 70 minus 35.48, which is $34.52 is your answer. Okay, then B. The store, Dan wrote a check for $76.85. So if you write a check, it means that you're actually giving money away. His new account balance is $235.15. What was his previous balance in his account? So this is our question, previous balance. We'll let that be P. So if you had $235.15 in your account and you wrote a check. So that means that you started out with P and you wrote a check means you subtracted $76.85. So we knew he had more money than $235.15 because he started out with more money to write a check. So now we're going to add $76.85 to each side. And that's going to be how much money he had in his account initially. So do 35.15 plus 76.85, and you're going to get $312 is what he had. So he had $312, and then he wrote a check for $76.85, so he ended up with $235.15. Okay, C. An oil field produces an average of 16.8 thousand barrels of crude oil per day. About how many days will it take to produce 20,000 barrels? Round the nearest whole number. So we want to have 200,000. I said 20, but 200,000. And it says how many days, so it's going to be our variable. So the number of days times 16.8 thousand barrels a day equals 200,000. Since we're talking about all in thousands, I don't need to write these in thousands. I can just keep it as 16.8. If one was in thousand and the other one wasn't, then I'd have to write it out. So to solve, I'm going to divide each side by 16.8. So I do 200 divided by 16.8, and I'm rounding. In my calculator, I get 11.9047. So if it says round the nearest whole number, remember whole number you don't want to have any decimals, so you're looking at this number. This number tells me to round up, so I'm going to say about 12 days. And then D, to calculate someone's batting average, we use the equation A equals H over N, where A is the average, H is the number of hits, and N is the number of times at bat. Babe Ruth was at bat 522 times. So that's going to be our N. In his career, and had a batting average of .393. So that A was equal to .393. How many hits? So H. So I'm solving for H. So when I solve for H, I multiply both sides by 522. So I do 522 times .393. And you get about, because it says round the nearest whole number, 205.14. But since I'm rounding the nearest whole number, I look at the 1, and it's 205 hits. Always make sure you have a unit. There's my answer.